But to revisit something as traumatic as abuse can be frightening up front, but it's certainly worth the healing that's going to come out on the other end.
Well, hey there, folks. Welcome to Let's Talk About dot dot dot. And today we are going to be talking about feeling hopeless. So, welcome and glad you all are here. I'm going to just allow people a little bit of time, a little few seconds here to notice that we're having a live Q&A and to start arriving. But I'm really looking forward to connecting with you all today, and feel free to comment here or to post into the group, and I will be reviewing your post today and connecting with you. So I want to take a little moment to talk about this feeling of hopelessness. You know, it's really understandable given the experiences that we've had and the challenges that we face in healing, that we have days of despair, days of hopelessness and struggle. So, first of all, just knowing that that's common, I think, is really key to our being able to address hopelessness and overcome it. And I want to invite you just for a moment to check in. I sometimes think about this like a spectrum where one end is hopelessness and one end is more like optimism. So you can also think about it as one end is where you're feeling that despair and that sense of like things are never going to change. This is just the way it is. It's not going to get any better, to the other end of the spectrum where you're feeling a little more optimistic, you're feeling hopeful, you're feeling encouraged, or even just curious, like, wow, I'm curious to see if things could change, or I'm open to the possibility that things could change. So one of the very first things that you can do today is just notice where you are on that spectrum at any given moment, because it can change so much from moment to moment or day to day, but just having that little check-in and actually doing that little check-in from time to time is a wonderful way to help yourself ground and balance, because you begin to notice, oh yeah, I'm over here feeling a little more hopeful today. I'm over here feeling a little less. But you start to see that you are on this spectrum and it isn't always doom and gloom and despair. To be granted, sometimes we are in a state of despair and hopelessness for some time. So that's one thing that though that you can begin to do, and I'd love to hear from you all here. You know, like, what are things that you do when you're feeling hopeless? How do you turn your attention? What kinds of things you do? This actually came up with one of my clients just recently. She was sharing in a different group, the Beyond Survivors group. That's for people who are currently working through the Beyond Surviving program. And she was asking for ideas of when you're feeling down or feeling hopeless, what do you do? And I loved it. The brainstorming there was really great. And we came up with things like listening to music, going for a walk, reading something positive. So feel free to share here in the comments what you do to feel hopeful or to inspire hope. And I'm just going to put that little question here so we have it. Awesome. Now, the other thing, I love TV. It's one of those things. And I was recently watching this TV show called The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And the premise of the story is kind of dark, but the idea is that she was kidnapped and kept in a bunker for 15 years by this jerk of a guy. And it's a comedy, right? It's all built on this idea of what happens when you take someone out of society for a long time and then you release them back into society and all the things they don't know. And, you know, her maturity has been stunted. She's, you know, a 30-something-year-old, but, you know, has the maturity of a 15-year-old. One of the things that they were tasked with while they were in the bunker was to turn this crank. It was like a chore that each person, you know, had to take turns doing, and it was really tedious and monotonous. And in one of the episodes, she's talking about this and that it was pain, you know, pain in the butt to do, and it was exhausting. And the way that she got through that, this something that was really challenging and hard, was she just kept counting to 10. She was like, I knew that I could get through anything for 10 seconds. And so she'd count to 10, and then she'd start over, and she'd count to 10 again. And something about that just stuck with me. And I began to think about how that principle might apply for us, those of us who've gone through sexual abuse, and we have days that are really, really hard, and it feels like, God, there is no way I am going to make it through this. What would it be like I'm going to make it through the next 10 seconds? And that's all you have to do, is get through the next 10 seconds. I just thought that that was pretty fascinating and an interesting way of thinking about our experiences because, man, when things are really overwhelming and we're in that place of hopelessness, it's so hard to take action. There's just very little that we're going to be inspired to do. And so finding a place where we can tap back into possibility and hope is so critical, but sometimes just being mindful of moving yourself through that despair and sometimes just being with it is just as important. You know, sometimes we want to rush away from it. One thing that I found in my healing journey is that being with that moment of hopelessness and giving it voice and honoring it is sometimes just as powerful as doing something to redirect my energy towards more positivity. So thanks, Tammy. Yeah, I love it. Next 10 seconds. So yeah. Oh, thanks, Christy. Christy says one of the things she's doing is turning off the headlines and the news and kind of checking out of, yeah, my gosh, that's such a great point. You know, what we are surrounding ourselves with is going to have a huge impact on our energy and our vitality and, yeah, how we're feeling about things. So if we're taking in a lot of negative news or negative TV shows or negative music, that's going to have an impact on how we're feeling. And sometimes it's great to like just rage out to some music or something like that, but a lot of times we need to shift our focus and our energy to things that are positive and uplifting for sure. I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Christy. So as you begin to explore this concept of hopefulness and positivity, I want to share with you another resource. It's a book that when I in my own journey was really struggling, I would almost call it like an existential crisis. I was just really fed up with everything, I guess you could say. And I just felt like everything was meaningless and there wasn't any point to anything and could not get my head out of that trap. And one of the ways that I often, when I'm finding myself in a place like that, do heal or help myself is to read. I find resources to be one of the best ways that I navigate that. And so I'm going to put here in the notes this book that I came across. And it's simply called Hope, The Art of Living, and the author is Stan Van Hooft. And there were some really beautiful elements in that book. I liked the way that he approached hope from a philosophical standpoint, making it very pragmatic, like what are the elements of hope and what do we need to tap into? And one of the things that I still remember that stands out to me the most from that book is how he talks about hope really relies on our capacity to tap into the possibility that what we want could come into existence. And he puts that up against the concept of a wish, right? I can wish for a unicorn. And I do wish for a unicorn. But it's a wish because the possibility of having it, you know, who knows, I might be wrong, but the possibility of having a unicorn is fairly low. So that's why I don't say I hope for a unicorn, right? I might hope for a Porsche. That would be lovely too. Always love Porsches. So, you know, I can hope for a Porsche because it exists. And it is within the realm of possibility that I could one day have a Porsche. Now, thinking about that for survivors. Wow. Oh, nice, Christy. Score, I love that. So, thinking about that when it comes to trauma, how many of us fall into this sort of pattern of thinking, this is never going to get any better. There's nothing I can do about this. This is all too much. I'm too old, right? All of those sorts of patterns of thought actually begin to take healing out of the realm of hopefulness and put it into this realm of wishing. And so that's the other thing I want to encourage you to pay really close attention to. I know it can feel like this is never going to get better. This is too hard. Nothing's ever going to change. But when we are shifting into that mindset, we are robbing ourselves of the perspective that healing is possible, that it's obtainable, that it's out there and available. And how do I know that? Because I look around and I look for the evidence of it. So just like I think of unicorns as something to wish for, is I've never seen a unicorn. If I ever saw a unicorn, I would all of a sudden be like, I am hoping to get a unicorn because they're out there and I want one. Okay. I did the same thing in my own journey of healing. I started to look around and say, who can I look at who's healed? Who's modeling for me that there is something else besides despair and defeat and PTSD and struggles and being triggered and having shitty relationships. And I found out in the world people, I found the unicorns, if you will, and I let them be an inspiration to me. And I said, if they can do it, I can do it. There's no reason why I can't if they can. It's out there, it's available. Yeah, it takes work. Yes, it takes time, but it's achievable. So I want to encourage you to keep that in mind as well. So the last thing I'll say here is that if you have questions or comments, feel free to go ahead and pop on. I'm going to start wrapping up and otherwise. So I shared with you in the, I guess the comment here, the start, a link to a foundations course. So this foundations course is all about overcoming hopelessness, and it's a 3-part audio course. It's completely free. You don't even have to opt in for anything. You just go to the website. It's all there. So if you're finding yourself in a place of feeling overwhelmed, hopeless, despair, please engage with that material. Use the strategies and tools that I teach in that course to help bolster you. So final thought is I want to just encourage you all today to keep on keeping on, right? I know we all have tough days, and I just encourage you and send you so much, just love and inspiration and hope. Have a really great weekend. I'll see you all next time. Bye now.